Hello, welcome to Womanhood Wednesday. I am Tracy Byerly and I am unapologetically gray. I help women to create a confident, prosperous attitude about growing older so they can master the art of aging unapologetically. Welcome, welcome. As you recall, I talked about a great reset. I was on a Womanhood Wednesday, doing it afraid. And I have a precious sister friend of mine. She is a sister from another mother. And she, I know, had had her great reset as well. And when she mentioned it, oh, if you look in the chat, we already started. I was trying to pull her in then because she's just an amazing woman. And you've seen her before, but let me reintroduce you to her again. Ingra, on paper, is an accomplished trainer, manager, and administrator with over 25 years of experience in healthcare administration, software, tech industry, and the Christian nonprofit industry. Most recently, the titles of author and publisher have been added feathers in her cap. More than her professional accomplishments, Ingra provokes unmotivated individuals and helps them transform into purpose found and thriving ones. Mother of an incredible daughter, a widow who bloomed in the darkness, ordained minister of the gospel, and mentor are a few more hats that she wears. Her passion is primarily for the kingdom of God. Creating receptive insights is her mission, which means helping people explore God in free and unconventional ways, thereby strengthening their spiritual walk and fulfilling their purpose here on earth. Everybody, please welcome my sister, Ingra Green.
Hello,
Yay!
hello.
So happy to have you here.
Always a pleasure to be talking to you face to face, virtually, any kind of way.
Ingra, tell us, what is a fun fact about you?
Ah, fun fact. So this
Mhm.
is just one that popped in my head, and it is just that I love, like, I have this weird love for the mountains, even though I'm kind of scared of heights. So there's like, so I'm drawn, but then it's like when I'm looking at them, I'm like, can I really do this? Yeah, it's a weird thing. Weird thing.
That's funny. I want you to get us set up because I'm going to call you the queen of great resets. Set us up, girl. Set us
The
up.
queen, I feel like I should have had a tiara. That would have been perfect. That would have been perfect. But so okay, the setup. Let's see how can I do this. I think what I would do, or what I'll do, is to just start by just sharing with everyone that, as we all know, as we see it in the earth all the time, seasons come, seasons go. Change is inevitable. There's always change that's going to happen. There's some change that's prompted by external and extenuating circumstances. There are some changes that are prompted internally. There are some changes that are prompted divinely. But my point is just to say that when we are dealing with resets or these changes that are happening, it's inevitable. But the challenge is, how are we going to go through them? You know, it can be a laborious or a harrowing experience or a frightful experience, or it can be so pleasurable that it defies even your own understanding. And so, what happened for me was, as I was walking through this reset, actually, I was being walked through it because at the time, I didn't even know I was being reset, that my whole life was being reset. It's just been in retrospect that I've looked back and said, oh, that's what was happening. All I did was I had given, because my reset was a divine one. It was a reset by God. And I just said yes. I just gave him my perpetual yes. And I was just walked into a complete life overhaul slash reset that still blows my mind. And by the way, I'm still kind of in it.
Oh, oh.
Hmm.
Can
Hmm.
you share a smidgen of the mind blowing things that have happened for you while, and then we'll get right into it. But a lot of people are like, hmm, reset.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yes. So my life took a complete turn. I almost felt like this was my life and this happened to it. It was like, I mean, just dump, and I had no control. And we all know, I mean, if you could just imagine, just this is going to be crazy. If you imagine you're driving your car down the freeway and all of a sudden something pulls your hands off the steering wheel and starts to turn the car in a different direction, and then your hands are put back on the steering wheel. That's kind of what happened. But to be more specific about it, my husband passed away in 2017, and after, actually my reset was happening before then. Again, in retrospect, I saw that, but it went fast forward after he passed away to where I sold my house, I resigned from my job, I moved to another state that I didn't know anyone, had no job during that time. I went to Europe for 2 weeks by myself, had these incredible epiphanies and just these experiences that I know are going to follow me for the rest of my life. So those are just some of the things that happened during my reset.
Whoo! I'm so glad that you could share that. It's like, okay, y'all, don't be scared, but in the
Right.
middle of just when things are happening, just let things suspend and trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
first things first, you talk about mindset reset often. Can you please share this with our listeners?
Yes, it would be my pleasure. One of the things in my bio, in my introduction, you mentioned that I create receptive insight, and that is really my purpose on earth. Lots of people have no idea why they're here. I know exactly why I'm here. And creating receptive insight is really to help open people up. Not that sharing my experience is something for you to do or for someone to do exactly, but it's to open up their receptivity, to open up to, wow, could something be possible for me? Because what I have found is a lot of times we get so on the hamster wheel of life and we don't look up or we don't pull up and survey and look around at what's happening. We just let life do us. You know, life just carries us along. And so I like to, as I've gone through this, to share to help eliminate some of the pain, because some of the pain of going through the process is good and it's by design and you learn so much. But some of the things I just like to bring awareness to just kind of help ease someone into it. So the first thing when it comes to this mindset reset is the acknowledgement of fear. Because let me tell you, first of all, I was that woman who I lived in fear for many years, up until this reset happened. There were things that the Lord, I know He had for me to do and opportunities for me to walk into. So I felt it like deep, deep inside me, but I was so afraid, like, oh, I'm not qualified for this, or, you know, there's someone better for that, or I don't really know what I'm doing, or no one's going to, just all of those things that come up. Lots of fear. And it was immobilizing.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you mentioned on that Womanhood Wednesday was how to, what is it? Do it afraid. And
Yes.
we know that that's a phrase that we heard here and there. Now I do a lot of things afraid. I just acknowledge the fear. I acknowledge it. It's going to happen. It's just the unknown and not being able to control things. You just feel kind of out of control, and that's not necessarily comfortable, right? But don't let it immobilize you. So here's what I did. I began to fear less. So not that I became, because at first I was thinking in my head to make change or to do reset or to shift in a different place, you got to be this fearless, like with your cape flying back behind you, this superwoman, and yeah, this is me. No, no. It's just the small step of fearing just a little bit less each time.
Oh, that's good.
So my one thing that I would encourage you to do is anyone out there now who you feel like some, because yeah, we'll get into that, some of the signs, but you'll kind of feel this shift just kind of edging up. It's nudging you closer, closer. Um, Give yourself little challenges, just baby steps, things that you, small things you may be afraid to do. Challenge yourself to do them, to just fear a little bit less each time, even if you end up doing the same thing over and over. So here's one good example. One of the things that, and I didn't realize this, a lot of people are afraid to go out in public by themselves, to
Yeah.
eat a meal by themselves. Okay.
Yeah.
Start by going to a movie. Go to a movie. It's dark in there.
Yep.
Who's going to see you?
That's
You know?
right.
You know, challenge yourself that way. Then maybe the next time you can go to, like a Starbucks and just have a quick little sip of coffee, tea, whatever it is, and then leave, after a few minutes. Then work your way up to maybe a full dinner, but, just little bitty things. Just fear less, a little bit less every time. That's one of the first things that I think, I know it helped with my shifting into and getting my mind around, okay, there's some things that are going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm going to get used to doing it. I'm going to get used to acknowledging the fear moving forward. The second thing is to just pay attention to your resistance.
Ooh, that's
Pay attention to your resistance. And here's something that I've done a little bit of study, and it's one of my favorite things to talk about. And I could go on and on about this, but I'll make it really quick. So our brains are hardwired to resist change. In the amygdala, which is it's this small little bitty part in our brain that's responsible for the fight or flight part in us, that part of our brain interprets change as a threat. Because it interprets change as a threat, when this reset or even this mindset starts to come upon you, your brain is like, oh, no, we're not doing that. We are not having it. And you will have all kinds of shutdown. There's this one thing. So there's this school of thought called immunity to change. Again, it gets into a real deep process. But one of the things in that process is competing commitments.
Ooh.
What that is what your brain does when change is introduced. Your brain will automatically throw up something that's valid to compete with that change so that you stay in the status quo, you stay in your norm, you stay in your comfort zone, and you never address the change. And these are legitimate things.
Oh, that's
When
good.
you address them and you see, oh, this is a resistance that's popping up, keeping in mind too that sometimes your resistance can be physical. That headache that pops up every time, the blood pressure that rises. These are little things. Just pay attention to your resistance, because resistance is really a good indicator that you're moving in the right direction. Your body has issued this threat, like warning. It reminds me of, what was it? I think it was Land of the Lost, or I can't remember the show back in the day, but it was the robot, Lost in Space. The robot, wait, danger, Will Robinson. It's like that's what your brain starts to shout, danger. But our brains are also programmable. It's called neuroplasticity. It's our ability. God made us this way, fearfully and wonderfully made. We have the power to change our brain, to change our mindsets. And again, I just wanted to share that, just so, and you can go and just, for those of you who like to go and dig into that a little bit more and equip yourself, and you just kind of go on that journey of resetting. But I wanted to just mention those two things just to put that out there and to get you started.
Oh, good. Forget good. Great stuff. I love hearing about this. Oh my gosh. So let's talk about When do you know you need a reset?
Ah, there are a lot of people who have gone through resets and have had different indicators. So the list is inexhaustible because it varies by person. So what I want to share is just four things that just kind of came to mind. There were probably more things, and I'm still kind of unpacking, still unpacking. But I do want to share just these four things. Um, the first one for me, the first one is you may have a life shift that's beyond your control. That's a clear indicator that you're about to have a reset. And for me, hello, it was widowhood. It was when my husband passed away. My life went into a reset that I didn't even know was about to happen. And you would think that I would be aware that my life was about to change. But listen to this. After Martin passed away, after he transitioned, um, I took a month off work just to try to, get my head right. And I was going to go right back into life as usual.
Mm.
I mean, that was my plan. Why? Because that's what I knew to do. That's all I knew to do. And not only that, that's what I was comfortable doing.
Mm-hmm.
But when I talk about being divinely guided into a reset, it was literally through my time with the Lord. He was letting me know, no, this is not going to be life as usual.
Wow.
And then he even reminded me, and I had forgotten about this. He reminded me right before Martin transitioned, I started to feel this stirring within me. And it was an indicator that ding, 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 something's about to happen. But I wasn't really paying attention to it. So there may be some circumstances or events that happen in your life that are going to say to you, it's time to reset. It's time to make a shift. It's time for a change. That was the first one for me. The second one is because I am very much a spiritual woman, very much to the core, right? So another indicator is a spiritual one, and that was divine downloads started to happen for me. Um, During my time, my prayer time with the Lord, it's like I was being stirred and I didn't fully understand what was happening. It's like for those of you who have a relationship with the Lord, you'll be in your prayer time, and all of a sudden, boom, He'll put something in your heart. But boom, put a thought in your mind, and it's like, where did that come from? This desire, where, what? Like Tracy, you were my life coach at that time, and we're going through the program and get to the last day, and all of a sudden boom, the word Colorado pops up, and I'm like, Colorado. And I think I told you, Tracy, I think God just told me to go to Colorado.
You were on one path. We thought we had it. And then
Yes,
when you said that, I'm like, "Rrr?
exactly, so was I.
What?"
So was I. It seemed so random,
Yes.
but now in retrospect it's like, oh wow, if that wasn't a clue that I was about to be reset, I don't know what was. But a lot of times we override those things. Oh, that was weird. And then we just keep going. But pay attention to those divine downloads. It's not just by happenstance, it's not just a coincidence, it's not just random. Pay attention to those instances and then follow. Like I think you had mentioned, I don't know if we were talking before or if it was now, but about trusting the process, especially when the Lord is guiding you. Trust the process. Trust Him because Father knows best. So those spontaneous or divine downloads will begin to happen. Um, the next one is, and I kind of alluded to this one already, but I'll pull it out as a separate one, and that is kind of being stuck, or yeah, just kind of being stuck in the norm. Which, like I said, I was about to go back into life as usual. It wasn't that I was experiencing burnout, but for some of you, that may be the case. You may be experiencing burnout. You may realize that you have become unmotivated. It's like, and you may have been that way for a little while, but then you start to notice it. And that's the thing. When you start to notice, that's a key. That's a key. I'll throw this in just really quickly because, again, I can go all over the place and go for a while.
We can have a
But,
part two if we need to.
right,
Go ahead.
we are all created. There are three parts of all of us: there's our body, our soul, and our spirit. And so there's this thing that happens kind of in our soul, or maybe it's in our spirit. I have to dig into that a little bit more. But you just begin to feel this like, something's there's something that's not quite right. You feel a tug toward what I call the more. There's
Mhm.
more to life than this.
Right.
There's something that I'm missing. Yeah, I've got the things. I've checked all the boxes and I have success, as society may say, but that's not all that life is about. It's a lot deeper than what we may think initially. And it's until it behooves all of us to find the path that we are here for, that we are supposed to be traveling. And the Great Reset is to put you on that path. Yeah. So when you begin to notice, it's almost like your spirit is saying, tap, 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 hello. Um, we're going in the wrong direction right now. So let's get on track. So you may feel that again when you start to notice the burnout, or notice the lack of motivation, or just notice the lack of passion. That's an indicator too. And then finally, and this is kind of a fun one, there may be some external changes that you begin to make, and you may not even realize that they are indicators of a reset. So, for instance, there were two major ones for me. One of them was this strong desire to get my passport. It and what's weird about this is right before Martin transitioned, the week before, we were both supposed to get our passports. Like it hit both of us separately.
Mhm.
And then we had talked about it, and I was like, oh, okay, we got to do this. But yeah, so I got my passport. Well, I didn't know that I was going to be doing a solo trip to Europe for 2 weeks. I didn't know that, but that was part of the reset. The second thing was um, this beautiful haircut here. Y'all see, like, what? This head was full of hair,
Mhm.
but cutting my hair was another indication that a reset was about to happen. I can't remember who it is. I don't know if it was Coco Chanel or Chanel. I don't know who it was, but they said, or maybe Audrey Hepburn, that when a woman cuts her hair, she's about to change her life. Or there's a quote somewhere in that. That literally happened to me. So again, there may be some external things that happen that will let you know it's time to reset. So those
Mm.
are the four things.
Wow. I know that there's some people that are like, okay, I've had all of these signs. So what do I do next?
Yeah. My encouragement would be just start. Um, Whatever the leading is, even if it's to begin with, the if we go back to the mindset, the fear less part, anything that's going to move you in a forward direction. And again, I personally, this is just what's coming to me. That fear less part, I believe, is a good place to actually start. And then just let it grow from there as you increase in your courage and in your bravery and in your boldness and in your authority, to be quite honest. You will begin to take bigger steps, and then just make sure you're listening to even how your mood may be moving you in a certain direction. We think these things again are just kind of random, but it's really an internal thing. It's the way we were created, that's drawing you or pulling you in a certain direction. If you are a believer, spend time with the Father. Put the request out there to Him, but make sure you sit and listen,
Yeah.
just in some quiet time to listen to see what he's going to say.
Yep. What would you say to, because I know we have some people that aren't Christian that are on here and they listen as well to meditation. What do you think?
Yes. Yes, I would say meditation because again, we are all three-part being regardless of where our faith is. Yeah. So sit and meditate. If you do visualizations, do your visualization meditation. You need a guided meditation, do that. If you need to help yourself get into the alpha or the, what is it, alpha or theta state so that you're more creative and receptive, put your music on and get those frequency vibrations and that music going and get into it that way. Yeah. And then you will receive some kind of download because, again, you've already had some indicators that it's time for a change, and you'll begin to get more as you open up to it.
Mm-hmm. Would you also agree that you can plan your resets as well as, heck, stuff happens?
I'm sure you can. That's not my experience. But I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could plan your reset, especially like I'm saying, if you're taking the time to sit and receive some specific downloads, you'll get direction. You can get direction. Because in a sense, I said I didn't have experience doing that, but in a way I did. Although it kind of seemed like it was sprung on me, the Lord did plan it out for me from, the resigning from the job, selling the home, the proceeds that were available for X amount of time, just moving to Colorado. So in a sense, it was kind of planned. It was just quick and sudden for me. But it was exciting and exhilarating too. But yes, I would say once you are receiving the downloads, take some time, grab a journal. People
Yes.
understand the power of writing things down, writing it down. It's like you will begin to manifest things in a whole different way. And even just how your brain begins to process and your spirit begins to process things.
Yes.
Write it down so that when you see it, then you may start to see, okay, there's a flow here. There's a pattern. There's a way that I can strategically do this that may literally unfold on the pages.
Whew, that is good. My guy says we're going to end up needing a part 2 to this. But what I'm going to do is cast the spotlight on you, and I invite you to give your final thoughts to our audience, please.
My pleasure. So I don't know if any of you have paid attention. Just as I was listening, and I would take a quick break on this coffee mug, it says, "Enjoy the journey." That is my final encouragement to you. A lot of times, like I said, our brain being hardwired to resist change, it can be scary. The unknown, that place of no control, can be such that when you do find yourself in the reset, you want to rush through it as quickly as possible. You want to get to that destination so that this uncomfortable place is over and done. But I want to encourage you to enjoy the journey. There are so many gems that you will be able to extract when you slow down because you've already been made aware of just the mindset shift that's going to be necessary. And you will find even more ways that your mindset will need to shift. But in that shift, you will begin to see that perspective changes. And when perspective changes, what was once uncomfortable becomes a place of exploration. You begin to see that your curiosity is piqued. Instead of just being in a situation of panic or in a mind frame of panic, you begin to explore and discover. So, my encouragement again for you is to make sure you enjoy the journey. Don't just rush to the end of it. Take your time and extract as much meaningful information, as many experiences that you can, because they will follow you and they will serve you well as you move forward. I pray blessings upon you as you walk into your reset. And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. Here's the other thing, too. I just say this really quickly. It's almost like I like roller coasters. So it's like, you know, how there's the tick, 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 tick as you're going up and you start to feel sick in the pit of your stomach. And then right when you're at the top, it's like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But then once you fall and you start this free flowing, it's like, whoo, you enjoy it. You enjoy it. So enjoy Journey.
Y'all see why I love her.
Love you too.
I have her contact information, screenshot, do whatever you need to do, jot it down real quick. I hope you did. And if you love her, you just make sure you comment again what more you want to learn about, and I'll have her back on. All right, y'all. Well, in the meantime, stay tuned for True to You Tuesdays. And until then, smooches.
Smooches.